Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Spake Up Podcast. I'm Shannon Spake, and just want to remind everyone to make sure to subscribe. We're rolling along, having some great guests, just like today's, which I'm super excited. You guys can see my shirt. So kind of set it up right. If you look at my bio, my resume, my bio, my social media pages, anything, the first thing is always going to be like what I do for a living, which is a reporter. But then there's going to be two other things that really identify me as the person that I am. The first one is a mom. I'm a mom first, above all else. I have identical twin boys, which I'm very proud of. They're my best friends. They're awesome. I don't know what I did in this world to deserve such great kids. I love being a mom above everything else. But the second thing that's usually or always listed on my bio is my 70.3s and my 4 marathons. Very, very, very proud of my time as an endurance athlete, which was about 8 years. I was an endurance athlete. And the reason I'm proud of it is not necessarily because I have the medals or the times or anything like that, but obviously what it takes to be an endurance athlete, regardless of what level you're competing at, is a lot of dedication, a lot of strength physically, but more importantly, mentally, and a lot of like really dark times that you have to find a way to get out of. Anyone that's competed in or trained, I should say, the competition part is the easy part. It's a training that's the hard part. I would wake up at 3 a.m. sometimes to go on a long ride outside or inside on a trainer. My average workout per day when I was training for 70.3s, and I tried to do 2 full Ironmans, but the Ironman gods did not want it to happen for me, so it didn't. But you would, on an average, when I was doing 70.3s, I would be training for like 3 to 4 hours a day. When I was training for my full Ironmans, it could be 8 to 10 to even longer. There were very long days. And when you weren't training, you were tired, recovering, doing whatever. I've swam or swum, whatever, swam in lakes, in oceans, which sucks. It's the worst part of it, unless you're a swimmer, like my guest today. I've been stung by jellyfish, never comfortable in open water. I've had grown men literally kick me in the stomach, swimming over me. I've hyperventilated in races, pushed my body through every single limit that I could possibly push it through. But I did it because of the people that I met along the way. Truly, truly, truly. The Ironman, when I was part of the Ironman Foundation, the race for more slogan was so true in my life because I was really racing for more. I wasn't racing, like I said, for the medal or to do all that stuff. I was racing for the people that I met along the course. I met elite athletes. I mean, elite. Like you watch them run a sub 6-minute mile and they don't even look like they're trying. It's the most beautiful thing you can ever see in your entire life. But I've met people with disabilities. I've met people battling diseases, addicts, regular people who just loved triathlon. And you'd be on the course with them. What I always loved is that they would have their age on their calf. And so like you could run up on someone, and I've run up on like a 70-year-old before, me on a course with a 70-year-old person doing the exact same thing that they're doing. And I absolutely loved that part of triathlon. It was the community that I loved. And I really met some of the most incredible people. But there are a lot of dangers. I've seen people wipe out on the bike, break bones. I mean, I saw one man one time, he went into the road and the trees and he came out bleeding and got right back on the bike and kept on going. I've seen people get pulled out of the water, barely being able to breathe. Literally the most incredible, like physically looking people with cramps so bad that they couldn't even walk and they were crying. And I've heard about people having heart attacks on courses, getting hit by, a car and losing their life. But you know what? That only happens to people that aren't, that aren't elite, right? That only happens to the regular people that just go out on the weekend and try to do these triathlons. And the answer to that is wrong because it does happen to the elite athletes. And you're going to meet one of them today, Tim O'Donnell. And the reason I want to have him on this is because I feel like his story is such an inspiring one for so many different reasons. I can't wait to talk to him about triathlon, but I also can't can't wait to kind of give you guys the information about things that you should look out for, because I have a lot of triathlon friends still who are going to be watching this. So Tim attended the United States Naval Academy, which I didn't know. I met him when I was an Ironman Foundation athlete. I didn't know he was part of the Navy. He swam and led the Naval Academy men's team to 2 U.S. National Triathlon Championship titles. I might get some of these wrong. I hope these are right. I hope I don't like miss out on any of these. He has 9 Ironman 70.3 victories. It's amazing. 2 Ironman wins and 6 Armed Forces National Championships. The ITU Long Distance World Champion, 5th at the 2013 Kona, 3rd at 2015 Kona, which is the World Champions, and 2nd in 2019. He's married. This is I should have put this at the very, very top. He's married to Mirinda Carfrae, Rennie, as she's known in the triathlon community. She's a 3-time world champion, badass, mama 3. And in March 2021, my guest here today, in the middle of a race, had a heart attack. So we're going to get into all that. But first of all, my friend, it is so good to see you. It's been a long time. We've shared courses before, which is pretty cool, but you finish a lot faster than I do. A lot faster.
No, thanks, Shannon. It's good to be here with you.
Has endurance sports, swimming, triathlon, running, has it ever been fun for you, or has it always been something that you are competing at and trying to win? Have you ever just done it for fun?
I did my first race in 1998 when I was in high school. My older brother, Thomas, who eventually really got me into triathlon, was at the Naval Academy as well. And I showed up. I had his borrowed Schwinn bike with down tube shifting from 1987. I had mountain bike shoes on, I literally had to lace up mountain bike shoes because I didn't have road shoes.
So you're just like all of us, Tim.
So that first race, I was just in a Speedo, no shirt, and and boots. So Speedos and boots was my first race kit. But I did. I when I first got into the sport, I didn't know how to feel about triathlon. I was just kind of doing it, and I was on the fence for 2 years. My first 2 years at the academy, I was swimming on the varsity team and on the triathlon club team. And at that point, it wasn't love. I don't know. I was just kind of doing it. And then at the end of my sophomore year, I had the best swims of my life, and I got the coaches really excited. I got excited, and I did okay at collegiate national championships. Not great, like 11th place, but all of a sudden I had this epiphany. Maybe this is where I should be at. Maybe this is where I'm going to really test myself. Because my whole sporting career was really just about seeing what I was made of, testing my limits, and working hard. I love to just, in the pool, I just love to train. I'd show up every day.
I like training too.
Yeah. Our coach would give us a day off. I said, no, I'm coming anyways. And I just show up. So, I never knew it was even a thing that you could have a career at. I remember one of my first trips to the Olympic Training Center and talking to one of the older guys. It was maybe Andy Potts or Hunter Kemper, both U.S. Olympians, and they told me they just bought a house. And I'm like, wait a minute, you can make enough money in this sport to buy a house? This is amazing. So definitely it was pure love of the sport that got me into it.
Rennie rocks. Rennie's computer rocks. She's good thing you married that woman.
I know. I married up.
How did you guys meet, by the way? Did you guys meet doing triathlons?
We did. Yeah. So she doesn't remember this. The first time we met was actually at the med tent at a half Ironman. And it was in Lubbock, Texas. I had a 3.5 minute lead with a half a mile to go. And I barely got across the finish line. I lost the race. Someone passed me and I was in the med tent and then getting an IV. And then same thing happened to her. And so we're kind of in the med tent, next to each other. She doesn't remember meeting me there, but that was kind of they're bringing her in. I'm kind of trying to hit on her.
So you knew who she was.
Yeah. So, but we officially met in St. Croix. So there was a 70.3 out in St. Croix. And this is a great story, actually. I raced with her best friend the weekend before in Florida. And I just moved to Boulder. And her best friend said to me, Tim, when we get back to Boulder, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. She's coming into town because Rennie would come from Australia. She would do St. Croix, and then she'd go to Boulder and train the rest of the year. So I'm like, cool, that'll be awesome. Well, I go to St. Croix. I have my first 70.3 win. I break Craig Alexander's course record, and I meet Rinny. So it was just kind of this perfect situation.
How many 70.3s have you done? Do you even know?
Too many to count.
You can't even count. How many fulls have you done? Can you count that?
20,
Wow.
at least 20, between 20 and 30, probably towards 30. Yeah. I would do at least 2 a year for over a decade, sometimes 3 a year.
Do you have a favorite course besides Kona?
Brazil, Ironman Brazil.
Oh,
It's
why?
so great. They love triathlon in Brazil. It is just the crowd is amazing. The support is amazing. The people are amazing. It's
That's so
I
awesome.
recommend anybody that's looking to race an Ironman outside of the US. I'm always saying, go down to Brazil.
Easy. I remember I went to Cozumel one time on vacation, and I know that there's a 70.3 there, and I was swimming, and I was like, I could totally, because I hate swimming. Hate to swim. Like the open water, lakes. Is that something you enjoy?
I
Not
learned to
being
enjoy
able
it.
to
I don't think
see
it's more, you
all
got
that
to do
stuff.
it. It's part of business, right? You got to do it.
Hate it. What's the worst swim that you've ever done?
Oh, the craziest one I've ever done is there's Phuket, Thailand, because you swim in the ocean. So you do most of the swim in the ocean, and then you have to run across the beach, and then you have to dive into a freshwater lagoon and swim across the lagoon to get to transition. Now, so a lot of people don't really like seawater, salt water is very buoyant because of the salt, and then you get into freshwater and you
Just think.
like you sink, and you've already swum a mile or whatever it is, and then you just like, oh my god, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna drown, I'm gonna fall to the bottom of this little lake right now.
That's so crazy. I have been like you're not back with the masses, but like I said in my open, I've had grown men literally swim over me, like swim, because it's mass. You've never been back there with the masses, and it is mass chaos. It's everybody just trying to hang on because everybody just wants to get through it.
Yeah.
The only time I almost didn't, and I've hyperventilated every single time. I've had to turn on my back and just kind of like work it out. But I did Muscle Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying, like I was trying to tell you that I was trying to get into Kona, and I was supposed to do Kona in 2021. And so I had to finish Muscle Man just as a qualifier. I didn't have to finish anywhere specific. That was the only time that I almost got pulled out of the water. It was a new wetsuit. I was like, the waves they were coming towards us, and it was like a rectangle. So I knew once I got there and made a right, I'd be fine. But it was like getting there. I don't even know how I finished. You did. I heard you tapped out one time.
I did my first Kona, my first Ironman World Championship.
Really?
Yep,
You got all.
2011.
Where did you tap out?
So I made it through the bike barely, but going into that was my first Ironman. I had had a great race at Ironman Texas for my debut Ironman. And I was actually leading the Ironman World Rankings at that time because it was a kind of a combination of Ironmans and half Ironmans. So I came in with, I think, the defending champion Craig Alexander wore bib number 1, but here's this Kona rookie coming in with bib number 2, and all the veterans are like, who is this guy? And I was so fit. But I was overtrained, I was overconfident, and I was underweight. And I remember my nutritionist like telling me, you got a carbo load. So I just go to the grocery store and I'm eating all this crap, just processed carbohydrates. And Rainey's looking at me like, what are you knucklehead, what are you doing? And I'm like, I got a carbo load. And she's just shaking her head. But I ended up getting really sick on the bike. I just started vomiting all over myself about a third of the way through the bike. And I took everything I could just to get to the finish line, or to transition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just got to get to transition before Rinny passes me on the bike. and like I did beat most of the women. My future coach, Julie Dibbins, passed me on the road up to Javi. And so she passed me, and she still gives me gives me a hard time about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, as you should.
I finished. I dropped out, and it was actually pretty pivotal moment in my career because I made a commitment not to never drop out of a race again. So because once you start quitting, once you start throwing in the towel, it makes it easier and easier to do it again every time you start that race or whatever it is you're doing in life. So I made a commitment there to never do that again.
I almost got a tattoo on my hand one time. So Robert O'Neill, Navy SEAL. So he used to tell the SEAL trainers, "Don't quit today." So like his message was, "Don't quit today. Like you can quit tomorrow, but don't quit today." And so I remember I almost got that tattoo one time because like I thought like that was my sort of my motto. Do you have a phrase that I feel like we all do, right? Like, just keep moving, one step, left foot, right foot, breathe, whatever it may be. What's yours?
Mine's a little nod back to my Navy days and my Academy days. Don't give up the ship.
I love
And
it.
if you go
And
into
you probably say that a lot to
Yep.
yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I actually have there's a flag. It was actually a flag that was flown on a naval ship years ago. There's a big story behind it. But if you go into Bancroft Hall, which is where the dorm room for 4,000 midshipmen at the United States Naval Academy, the first thing you see is that flag, "Don't give up the ship." And so I had that hanging in my training room for many years, kind of reminding me when things get tough, there's, it's not just about you, right? You
Yeah.
got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward.
And they do get tough. They get dark for you too, right?
Mhm.
Not just the age groupers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what gets you through. Are there mind games in at that elite level? Because I mean, I cover professional sports for a living. And I love the fact that I've done triathlon because I understand sort of that mental focus. I
Mhm.
think it helps me understand the athletes that I train or that I cover a lot better. What are the mind games like when you're on a bike, when you're, when you're in race morning? Take me inside like the mind of an elite Ironman athlete.
There really is. There's the piece that you have to deal with internally just about yourself, but 100% there is some gamesmanship out there between you and your competitors. I remember 2019 Kona. I'd say my best performance at that race. There I am off the front of the bike with Jan Frodeno.
He's your biggest adversary or
he is,
competitor?
he is I would say he's the greatest of all time for sure. I mean, he did everything. Olympic gold medalist, 3-time Ironman world champion, 70.3 world champion. So I'm with Jan and Alistair Brownlee, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. So here we are, the three of us off the front of the bike, leading the Ironman World Championship. And I look around and said, "There's 3 gold medals here, and none of them are mine." But I remember Ali pulled up next to me and he started yelling at me about something. And I just started laughing at him. And he didn't know how to react. Like, I just kind of started laughing at him because in my mind, I'm like, "Oh man, you are done." Like if you are in the
shit, you're like,
yeah, if you are on that edge, if you need a
That's right.
Snickers right now.
It's like the Michael Phelps thing, right? Like you got the Michael Phelps looking at the wall and you have his competitor looking at him, right?
Yeah,
That you are,
So, just like understanding the mind space people are in, a lot of times if you pass somebody, you might tap them on the butt and be like, "Hey, great job. There's no one behind you." Right. So in your mind, you're saying, "Don't worry about me. You can't stay with me, but you're good back there. So just settle in." Or, if you're doing an out and back on the run and you see a guy running you down, you just kind of pull it together and you try not to breathe hard and you just like give him a little nod like, "Oh yeah, you're doing great." So, so they don't think they think the door's closed, right? So they can't get back up. And it goes both. Actually, that breakaway with the 3 of us that I was just talking about, I remember I was on the front of the bike. We're 90 miles into the bike, and I look back, and Jan, who eventually broke the course record that day, I could have sworn he was out just looking over the ocean and like twiddling his thumbs
for a Sunday morning ride, right?
At the ocean. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So, I've been on both sides of that sword for sure.
He's just chilling. Yeah. Patrick Longay, I got to know him a little bit when he won because I did some Ironman stuff. I hosted their end of the year. So I got to meet him and Jason West. I've seen him run because I was able to work the Clash. And so the Clash endurance that Bill Christie puts on, we'll give a little shout out to Bill Christie.
Yes.
I have to because I'm wearing my Ironman shirt, not because I'm wearing my Ironman shirt for him, but it's got to be equal on both sides. But I got to work that. And so I was able to kind of be at the front of the pack for that. And Jason West was like, he was like a 5-something minute mile. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? And he looked beautiful doing it. Okay. So let's talk about, you mentioned you never wanted to quit again, which leads us to, I'm going to get this date right because I think I wrote it down. March, maybe I don't actually have the date, March 12th, 2021. Do you consider that your rebirth day?
I do actually. I was on a hike with someone a couple days ago who went through a very different life, threatening situation, but his kind of his rebirthday it's tomorrow actually. So he kind of put that in my head just a few days ago, and I see that now. It's 100% true.
So tell me about that day. It was the day that you had what's called a Widowmaker. And so for folks that might not understand, it is a heart attack, but there is I think a 12% chance of survival with a Widowmaker. And a Widowmaker is one of those that you don't really know you're having a heart attack. Is that kind of the sort of the symptoms?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first sign of a Widowmaker is often sudden death. To really put it bluntly, and I kind of equate it to a light switch. Either the light switch gets switched off or it stays on, and I mean, I'm just
holy shit.
Yeah,
like, that's real.
Yep.
So you're on the course. Was it like, when did you? Okay, I did listen to a podcast, but I don't want to give too much. I hate listening to podcasts because then I feel like I fill in the blanks.
Right.
So you go ahead and tell me what happened on March 12th and what happened leading up to March 12th.
Well, yeah. So, we'll rewind to Kona 2019. Jan wins, breaks the course record. I come in second, first American under 8 hours. And then COVID hits, right? So kind of everything gets shut down beginning of 2020. And Challenge Miami, Bill's race was the first one of the first big races back during the COVID, post-COVID. And it was Jan was racing, so I was really excited. I'm like, okay, here I get a race the GOAT again, because whether I win or not, I always love to race the best guys, because then number one, I pushed myself harder than I ever would before, but then I really knew where I stood. It's such a great benchmark to test yourself.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. So it's always just a pleasure to race those guys. And we were in I think a 5-man breakaway. I had the swim of my life. We're up at the front. Here it is again. There's a small group of guys, and then about halfway, 2/3 through the bike, I started getting the signs or symptoms that you would equate with a heart attack. That spreading pain across the chest, sharp shooting pain down my left arm, and then my left jaw just starting to lock up. And I did pause for a second and said, okay, is this a heart attack?
Jesus.
And then I looked down at my Garmin, and I'm going 30 miles an hour on the Miami Homestead Speedway. And I'm like, there's no way I'm having a heart attack and going 30 miles an hour. Like I should be lying on the asphalt right now. So I said, okay, let's back it off. Let's just try to recompose yourself and just keep going. Because like I said, and that race in 2011 in Kona, I made a commitment. If anybody's familiar with Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena.
Yeah.
I stared in the mirror after that race and I read that to myself. It's another thing I took from the Naval Academy. And I didn't want to be one of those
great poem or whatever they call it.
Yeah. To sum it up, you don't want to be one of those cold and timid souls who knows neither victory nor defeat. And that's what I made that commitment, not to give up, not to quit. And so here I am. I should have made a caveat, unless you're having a life-threatening medical emergency. But here I am. And I said, okay, I'll back it off. And I was still kind of yo-yoing off of that front group, still in the mix. And I just started to get worse and worse. And it was a 17-lap bike course, because we're on the NASCAR track, the Speedway. Yeah. And I started to not really know where I was. And I got off my bike a lap early. I started running in a transition, and everybody starts yelling like, Tim, like, get back on the bike. So that's what I did. I hopped back on. I started riding. I came into transition, I think in 11th, and I just ran as hard as I could. And I remember just the pressure on my chest. And I remember knowing I could run faster and just feeling like I was running in place, not being able to push. And at the time, my middle son, my middle child, Finian, was 8 weeks old. And I'm out here. I left my wife with 2 kids, one of them who is, newborn little baby. And I'm thinking, I can't even get a paycheck. It pays, there's, the prize money goes to top 10. I can't get a paycheck. I'm not even near Jan. Like, what am I doing out here? I need to retire. And finish the race, gets worse and worse, gets to the point where I can't stand up. I'm vomiting. And I'm with Bill Christie, and we call my doctor here in Boulder, and my doctor says, Tim, take 2 aspirin and get to the hospital right now. So
let me ask you a question, because I think there's a lot of people that are listening that'll be watching, because like I said, I'm still pretty active in the triathlon community, and there's a lot of us who have panic attacks, who have anxiety out there, right? The age groupers who are not used to sort of, whether it be the heat or just the whatever. Have you ever had that before? Like, did you think for a second, maybe I'm just having a panic attack? Maybe I'm just hyperventilating?
Well, and that, and also the kind of the signs of like a long COVID, right? That was so prevalent right now. And a lot of that was kind of synonymous with signs.
So did you have COVID?
I did. And I honestly, Shannon, I think this kind of sparked everything, because I actually had issues leading up to the race, and I went and I had tests run at Boulder Community Hospital. I saw a cardiologist. And
were you vaccinated? I mean, because people will wonder, right?
No, 100%. I've been on like I was on Rich Roll's podcast, not too far after, and people said, "Oh, Tim's vaccinated." Actually,
I mean, not like trying to nowhere, just asking the question,
No, I was not, still have not been. So, but that is, here's my thought. We 100%, we went to Australia. My wife's Australia. We came back right when COVID was getting really bad, and this is, I think end of February of 2020, and we're in customs, and I don't know, it was SFO or LAX, and all the flights from Asia are there, and people are hacking everywhere. And Marini and I looked at each other. Well, sure enough, like 2 days later, we got really sick, and we were out of it for a couple of days. And now, not to get back to training after you have COVID, at least hard training, because there is inflammation in the heart. And I didn't know that. I got right back into training, and then all of a sudden I remember doing a flip turn shortly after getting back to training and starting to get flutters and palpitations. And obviously there's 2 things that happen with a Widowmaker. You have to have plaque buildup. You have soft plaque buildup, which is the dangerous kind. It can rupture and spill out and fill your artery,
which is hereditary. So that it was
there
already
is a hereditary component to that, 100%. But then you also have to have the interior wall of lining of the artery gets compromised. And if it's inflamed, it has to break, right? That breaks, and then the plaque spills into your artery. So it's kind of 2 things that need it. And I do think there might have been a component there where inflammation in my heart might have exacerbated. It was going to happen. The plaque was there. It was going to happen. It was a matter of when and why. And I think with the inflammation and then the stress of having a newborn, actually our house flooded 4 weeks before we had our baby. In between. So we had our baby 4 weeks later, a house flooded 4 weeks later. I went to Miami. So then you have all this stress. It was a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And
plus add on to the whole situation, right? Like, then you go, I could sit here and read these stats, right? You 12% survival rate. You talked about it being a rebirth, but how close do you think you were to not surviving? Have the doctors told you, like, hey, if you would have waited another hour, if you would have, like, have they given you any of that stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, so the longer you're under blockage, the more damage you cause to your actual heart muscle. And I mean, I was under blockage. It was an afternoon, evening race, so maybe happened at 3 p.m. And I went to the hospital by the racetrack, and then they don't have a cardiology support there. So then we had to take me to another hospital. So by the time their cardiology team got there, it was maybe 1:30 in the morning that they cleared the block. And at that time, it was still, I think, about 88% blocked, but they had told me earlier it would have been a full blockage. But the great thing is that through my training, I developed ancillary vessels that kind of help move. Think of it like little sprouts coming out of a potato, right? So they sprout off your arteries and kind of can help move blood around. So I think my fitness definitely helped me get through it. But it was Shannon, it's a great reminder to everybody that fitness and health are different. Fitness isn't health. And you can be one of the fittest guys in the world and still have to worry about your health, right? There's other parts to all this.
Yeah, but I don't I just based on what you said, I don't think you would have done anything differently, right? Like, because you had made this commitment to yourself to like not quit. Thankfully, it turned out the way that it did. But like, how do you tell other people now, like, hey, you should listen to your body, when like exactly what they're going through? They're not going to quit,
Yeah.
It's how do you do it? Like, we're all wired so differently,
We are. And it's a hard thing because you
It
can
is.
tell somebody something, but
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately, I think you have to be in it yourself to really understand it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between, and there's
Did you
niggles.
know, it was like, were you like, this is different? And I'm like, oh gosh, that's hard, Tim.
I did. I said I actually like this is hitting differently, and it got obvious afterwards because I felt so bad. I felt worse than I felt after a race, an 8-hour race that's twice as long in Hawaii where it's hot and humid, and usually a half Ironman below you kind of you bounce back pretty quick, and I kept getting worse and worse, and I knew this isn't normal post race. Like I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, but this isn't right.
I cover elite athletes all the time, right? I mean, we're in an age now with NFL where head injuries. Like, we have a NASCAR driver who taped his eyes open one time back in the day just because he had crashed and his eyes were so swollen. And
Yeah.
Ricky Rudd, and he got back in a race car, and like, that's just, as an elite athlete, that's what you do. You're wired differently to sustain pain and to put that aside in order to finish what you need to finish.
Yeah.
That's difficult. And yeah, I mean, I think your message is a strong one. I think the getting back on the horse thing probably was scary. Like, how would you describe that? Because you competed afterwards.
I did. Yep. I did get back to racing, and that was a decision I made with my wife. And actually, the first thing the doctor said to me when after they cleared the blockage, put the stent in, he told me what they did, and then he said, "By the way, you're going to have to find a new career." And
Which is insane.
Yeah, like the first thing you hear is that after you just battled for your life, and now you're being told you got to find a new job.
Did you cry?
I did. I only cried when I guess I cried. Yeah, I cried when I was reflecting about my family.
Yeah.
Not myself, but that's the thing. When we go, you're not left holding the bag, right? If that light switch went off for me on that day, it would have been Rinny dealing, having to figure out life with two very small children on her own. So, and that, when they finally realized had the severity of the situation, because I got told it took me an hour and a half to get an IV in the first hospital, and I was told this is just dehydration.
That's right. Yeah.
You have a good poker face, I guess they're going to dismiss you and go deal with other cases. But when they realized the severity of the situation, they brought in, the cart with the defib, big paddles of life. And that was the only second where I really it came into my mind, is this it? Am I going to die? And
Jesus.
And then my focus went right to my family, because I said, no, this is not an option. It's not going to be an option today.
So what were the emotions? So had you ever been through any kind of injuries in the past?
Yeah, I've been very durable. I've been in a lot of bike accidents. Actually, I've lost a lot of skin. I've broken a lot lot of ribs.
Ever hit by a car or anything?
Only by one car. I've been hit by one car.
Yeah.
That was just on like a cruiser commuter bike, but
yeah. So because when I came, I tore my hamstring, all 3 tendons right off the bone, had surgery, everything. Yeah. Non-weight bearing. I was about to kick that 11-year-old's ass in that sprint when I took off, and my hamstring went. I'll tell you, I was coaching my kids' cross country team, and we were doing, a relay, and I took off running and my hamstring went. But I still have video of me getting back on the track for the very first time and running. And so just getting, like, anyone who's overcoming injury, that it's not just physical, it's the mental, it's trusting again. And I did hear your podcast. I don't remember who you were talking to, but you did a stress test, like the couple days after the heart attack.
A couple days after getting back to Colorado. Yeah.
Like, you trust your doctors, right? But at the same time, you're like, should I be doing this?
Yeah, and what I learned through this is that the closer you are to the information, the easier it is to deal with. And
oh, really? So you want to look at Google and see?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the doctors, the cardiologists see this. They see guys coming in all the time, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, this is what you do." To me, I'm like, "Really? Okay." And then to my mom, who's like, "You're doing what?" Who's further away from the information, she's scared to death, right? She couldn't. I went back to the Ironman World Championship one more time, and she was on the phone with Rinny and saying, "I can't believe you're out there. I can't believe you're watching this. I can't watch." In her mind, I was going to drop dead on the live Kona broadcast, right?
What was crossing the finish line for the first time after having this event like for you?
That was getting to that finish line one more time in Kona was.
But it wasn't Kona your first one, right? What was it?
No, my first one was
Iowa?
I had Iowa was my first Ironman back. Yep.
Okay. What was I mean, I know Kona's a big one. Kona's the emotional one, but just going out there and doing it for the first time after kind of overcoming all of this, what was that like for you?
It was one of the biggest struggles I've ever had in a race, for sure. And
physically?
Not a little bit physically. I took almost that whole year off. And then this was mid-year the following year. So my training block for an Ironman was not what it should have been. But the physical side, it just took time. The mental side was really what was a true struggle. And I didn't want to go out and ride my bike by myself. I didn't want to go out and run by myself. I was on blood thinners for a long time. So I actually really going out and riding your bike, if you crash on blood thinners and you get a brain injury, that's bad news if you hit your head. Right. So it was just that struggle. Should I be out here? Why am I out here? And, I don't need to be doing this. I've had a great career. But I just learned how to kind of work through that. And, a lot of people say time heals all wounds, but it's not true. That wound it's always going to be there. It's now a part of you. I was a different person. I was a different athlete, but not for the better or the worse. So it's okay. You have this event, you have this scar. Now, how do you let that, build you into a different version of you, something, a new chapter. And that's how I approached it. And it took time. But I developed the tools to deal with it and build from it as I went along the journey.
No, I don't think you ever heal, like whether it be a death or something. Like you just said, you now just learn how to live with that. It's like losing an arm, you just learn how to live with that, right? Like, or losing somebody, you never, that space is never filled. That void is always there. Do you mourn the athlete that you were, sort of and we all mourn our youth, right? Like who we were back then, but just I don't know, just the all in kind of go, just reckless abandonment kind of. And now that there are kind of things that come with it. Do you think about that person that Tim O'Donnell used to be?
I do. And I'm like, man, he was a silly young man.
No, we're all silly. We're all silly. Cause I did hear you talk about some of the rookies now and as you get older and you're like, man, was I like that?
Yeah. And you just wish you had your experience when you were younger and
yeah, youth is wasted on the young, isn't it, Tim?
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're like, man, come on, knuckleheads.
I know.
Yeah, you know what I really miss is I went on a 12-hour hike the other day and I got back and like I got in bed, I knew I was going to fall asleep right away. Just there's that when you're in a hard training block, when you're really like training, like crushing it every day, you just fall asleep. And I'm like, oh man, I miss this. I know I'm going to be asleep in like 2 minutes. I miss that feeling of like, I just, went out, did something epic.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to fall asleep.
Yeah. I tell people a lot like that, so I run stadium stairs when I'm at arenas and stadiums and that stuff and doing the Ironman event. Like and even the marathons, like you get to experience something that people don't. And the reason you get to experience it is because you put in the work, right? You get to experience that feeling of like taking a very deep nap after training for 12 hours and doing a run that nobody gets to experience, right? Unless you do the 12-hour hike. And then you are the only one who understands what that slumber really feels like after that. And that to me is like the beautiful thing about like being a training or doing certain things is it takes the hard work and not everybody gets to do it, right? Like the whole, if it was easy, everyone would do it kind of thing, which is so true. So what are you training for now? Are you training? Are you getting ready to compete? I won't keep you much longer.
We find something fun to do every summer.
Is she still training? Is she still doing races? Like
Rinny is, she's running. Yep. She's doing the New York City half marathon and then the New York City marathon next year.
Has she done New York before?
No, she's never run an open marathon. So you
wow.
You have one of the greatest runners in triathlon history, who has never done an open marathon, which is crazy.
I've done New York twice, and it is my favorite marathon. So I've done New York, Chicago, and Disney. And New York, to me, I want to do it again. I'm going to be 50 in July, so I want to maybe do it one more
Yeah.
time and let her know. I'm sure a million people have told her to see and she might not even recognize this because she'll be just going so fast, but to see the changing neighborhoods as you're running through New York
Right.
City. Again, the only people that get to experience that perspective is someone who's on their foot for 26.2 miles. You get to see the changing neighborhoods, how it changes from one sort of demographic to the next, the amount of people that are out there. It's a very cool experience. Being out there on Staten Island in the morning, bust out there, they have church service, and it's just running over the Staten Island Bridge while they're playing New York, New York with the water cannons sort of going off. It's
that's
the most beautiful morning.
And it's
It really
crazy.
is.
And I experienced on this hike I did the other day in Boulder. I saw Boulder from angles I'd never seen it before. And I'm much like New York. You could live in New York City your whole life, but if you go out and you do that marathon, doesn't matter how fast you go. You just go out and experience that. You are going to see that city from angles and views and perspectives that you've never seen before. And it's so powerful, right? Because there is so much more around me that I never realized. And it's like possibility all around you.
And the only people who get to, again, the reason why I love the triathlon community and the endurance is because you're with these people that are going through the same situation as you, and you get to see things that other people don't and experience it. And Tim, I adore, I've watched you from afar for so long, you and Rennie just being part of the Ironman Foundation and getting to know you a little bit. And when I heard your story, it's incredible to think the power that you have to kind of share that with people, to inspire them and to help them be a little bit safer out there, because they need to hear it. So I appreciate you.
Yeah. It's been the silver lining for me. And, I've been, my mission now is to share my story and what I've learned to broader audiences beyond triathlon. And I appreciate you helping me do that too.
Yeah, well, we'll get Bill Christie together. I'll hopefully be at a Clash event at some point, because I did work a couple of those and he keeps asking me to work. And unfortunately, my full-time job gets in the way of having fun sometimes. So, but I'll try to get out there and see you and Rennie, and be safe. I hope she has so much fun. And I hope you have fun if you're her support, going like on the subway from like one meeting point to the next to kind of follow her along.
I'm lobbying to take the whole family out for that one. So we'll see. I'll be navigating New York City with the 3 kids.
That'll be awesome. Enjoy. Thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Thank you, Shannon.
Have a good night. So I will tell you this, the way that I got into endurance racing, in 2005, my dad called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to run a marathon with me?" And at the time I was living in New York City and he was in Indiana, San Pierre, shout out San Pierre, Indiana. And so 2005, that was 20 years ago. And so I said, sure. And we signed up and we trained remotely. So he trained, I trained, and we did our very first marathon. I'll hopefully find some pictures. Back in 2005, we didn't take a lot of pictures, but we ran it in 5 hours and 45 minutes. That's how long it took us. What a great experience. I stayed with my dad the entire time. I felt great until I had way too much alcohol following the marathon and didn't feel great afterwards. But it was great. And I signed up for New York the next day or that whatever, it's closely after. And so I did New York the next year by myself, trained by myself. I'm a lone trainer, trained by myself, did New York. I think I did New York in 4:45 that year. And then I kind of stopped for a little bit, took some time off and had kids, all that stuff, and got into triathlon, I think in 2014, when some of the NASCAR drivers, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, some of those guys were doing triathlons. So I signed up for a sprint, did a sprint. Next year I did an Olympic, and then I started the 70.3s. I have done New York and Chicago marathons since then. And, I've really kind of, I've kept people along on my adventures on my triathlon and Ironman, but it all started with my dad in 2005, which was really special for us to be able to do that race together. And I remember I guess it was 2021 when I did Muscle Man, which is in New York, in the Finger Lakes of New York. The Ironman folks let my kids meet me at the finish line and put the trophy, my medal over my neck. And I have the video. And I remember after, obviously I didn't know it was happening because I was so tired, but afterwards I went back and looked at the video and I could see how proud my kids were to be there at the finish line. And it was a moment that I realized that they were watching. And so for all you moms and dads out there who do crazy things, whether it be, you know, working crazy hours or doing things for yourself that you think that it's selfish, realize that your kids are watching and they see you putting yourself out there and doing great things, and it'll definitely filter over to them. I started running these things because of my dad, and hopefully one day I kind of pass along my drive and focus and follow through to my kids. So Tim's awesome. I don't know if I'll ever do a Ironman again because honestly, if I don't have to put my head in an body of open water ever again, it'll, you know, be too soon. I don't miss that. So maybe a marathon, maybe not, but I've got great memories, and, you know, the pictures last forever. So that's it for tonight or today, whenever you guys are watching this. Thanks to Tim. And you can always, you know, check out his social media and send him a message. Let him know that you heard this. Rennie as well. She's awesome. And make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next time.